When people talk about wealth in Hollywood today, they picture massive contracts, private jets, and billion-dollar deals. But that version of success barely scratches the surface of what came before. In the golden age, fortunes weren't just earned. They were engineered behind closed doors. Johnny Carson often hinted that some of those old celebrities weren't simply rich. They were on another level. Beneath the charm, applause, and carefully crafted images, a different story was unfolding. Tonight, we're pulling back that curtain to reveal 7 Golden Age stars who didn't just rise to fame. They built their wealth through Hollywood's darkest secrets. And trust us, the number 4 was evil. So, ready to see what was really going on behind all that glitz and glamour? Well, let's get started. Number 7. Mary Pickford. Before being known as Mary Pickford, she was Gladys Louise Smith from Ontario. Nothing about that name suggested power, influence, or the kind of wealth that would one day shake Hollywood to its core. But somewhere between those early stage performances and the rise of silent cinema, she became something far more dangerous than a star. She became someone who understood exactly how the system worked. To the audience, she was innocence itself. Soft curls, gentle expressions, and the kind of presence that made people believe in something pure. America didn't just admire her, they trusted her. That image carried her to the top. But behind it, there was a mind that saw opportunity where others saw limits. At a time when most actresses were treated as disposable, Pickford refused to play along. Now, she negotiated like someone who knew her worth long before the industry was ready to admit it. In 1916, she wasn't just successful, she was the highest-paid woman in the world. And even that wasn't enough for her. Money was never the final goal. We mean, control was. So she stopped waiting. In 1919, she joined forces with Charlie, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith to create United Artists. It wasn't just a company, it was a statement. For the first time, actors weren't asking studios for permission. They were calling the shots themselves. That move alone changed Hollywood forever. But Pickford didn't stop there. While others were busy living like royalty, she was thinking like an investor. She quietly bought land across California, especially in places most people overlooked at the time. Burbank, in particular, would later become one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the entire industry. She saw it coming long before anyone else did. Johnny Carson once joked that she could win a negotiation and still leave you smiling like it was your idea. That kind of presence isn't luck. It's control wrapped in charm. By the time she stepped away, Mary Pickford wasn't just a legend of the screen. She was a force behind it. Her fortune, when adjusted for today, reached into the billions. Not because she played the game well, but because she quietly rewrote the rules. And while the world kept calling her America's sweetheart, the people who really understood Hollywood knew the truth. She wasn't just part of the system. Number 6. Charlie Chaplin. The only thing money gives you is the freedom of not worrying about money. And that's how Johnny Carson once summed it, and for most people it sounds like a simple truth. But when it comes to Charlie Chaplin, that idea barely captures the full picture. To the public, he was the little tramp, the poor dreamer with the cane, the mustache, the bowler hat, and that wounded comic dignity that made him hard to forget. He looked like a man forever one bad day away from sleeping on a park bench. That was the genius of the act. While audiences were falling in love with the underdog, Chaplin was building something far less innocent behind the curtain. Most stars of that era were employees in expensive costumes. Chaplin refused to stay with one of them. While others let studios own the pictures, the profits, and the future, he fought for control, not attention. And that changed everything. And he was not satisfied with being the face on the poster when he could own the poster, the theater, and the cash coming in after the crowd went home. And that is what made him dangerous in the best possible way. He understood early what Hollywood really was. Not an art house, not a dream factory, but a machine. And as we know, machines belong to whoever holds the keys. Chaplin wanted the keys. His instincts off-screen were just as sharp. He put money into land, business interests, and long-term assets, while other celebrities were busy dressing like royalty and spending like fools. Even when political pressure came crashing down on him during the McCarthy years, his wealth barely blinked. That kind of survival does not happen by luck. It happens because someone planned for the storm before the first cloud showed up. By the time he died in 1977, he was not merely a beloved screen legend. He was one of the smartest men Hollywood had ever underestimated. Johnny Carson admired people like that, the ones who could make the room laugh while quietly owning more of it than anybody realized. Chaplin played poor better than anyone alive. The funny part is, he may have been one of the richest men in the whole business, but money can't buy more time. Number 5. Cary Grant. Before Hollywood ever knew him as Cary Grant, he was Archibald Leach, a kid who learned early that survival meant staying sharp. That awareness never left him. By the time he became the face people admired on screen, he had already figured out something most actors didn't. Fame was temporary, but the right deal could outlive it. While others focused on getting paid more up front, Grant took a quieter route. He agreed to smaller salaries, but in return, he asked for a share of the profits. At the time, it sounded like a gamble. Studios didn't think much of it. But when his films started performing, those small percentages turned into serious money, not overnight, but steadily. That's what made it different. He wasn't chasing quick wins, he was setting up long ones. Away from acting, he paid attention to where the world was heading. TV was still uncertain, but he saw it as the next shift and invested in companies connected to it. The same approach was carried into aviation and pharmaceuticals through people he trusted. Well, none of it was loud or proud. That's what stands out. There's no story of excess or reckless spending. He stepped away from acting while he was still relevant, which says everything about how he thought. By then, his income didn't depend on roles anymore. It was already moving on its own. Johnny Carson once joked that Cary Grant didn't need to chase money because money seemed comfortable around him. That line works because it reflects how he moved. Calm, measured, and always a step ahead without making it obvious. Number 4. Jack Benny. Jack made an entire career out of one idea, that he hated spending money. It wasn't just a joke, it was a persona so believable that audiences accepted it as truth. Every slow pause, every reluctant reaction, and every perfectly timed "I'm not paying that" turned into one of the most recognizable traits in entertainment. People didn't just laugh at it, they expected it. Over time, the line between performance and reality blurred so well that most never questioned it. And that's where the real story begins. Because while the world saw a man obsessed with saving pennies, Jack was quietly building something much bigger behind the curtain. He wasn't just working in radio, he was thinking beyond it. Early on, he knew that the real value wasn't in performing once, it was in owning what could be performed again. So instead of relying on studio contracts, he structured his career around control. His production company didn't just create his shows, it owned them. That meant every rerun, syndication deal, and shift in platform kept sending money back his way. When television started taking over, many entertainers struggled to adapt. Benny didn't. He brought his entire catalog with him. The characters, the timing, and the content, it all moved forward together. That kind of transition wasn't luck. It was planning. But what made him even more interesting were the choices people never saw. While others chased glamorous investments, nightclubs, restaurants, flashy ventures, Benny went in a different direction. He focused on the structure of the industry itself, broadcasting equipment, production tools, and leasing systems. The kind of business that doesn't draw attention, but quietly powers everything else. It wasn't exciting. It was effective. Johnny Carson once joked that Jack Benny could make more money renting a camera than using one. It landed as a laugh, but it carried a deeper truth. Benny wasn't dependent on the spotlight. He built something that kept working even when he wasn't in front of it. By the time he passed away, the contrast between what people thought and what actually existed was almost ironic. The man famous for playing cheap had built a fortune that placed him among the wealthiest figures in entertainment. Not through noise, not through risk, but through steady, deliberate decisions. He made people believe he was careful with money. In reality, he just knew exactly where to put it. Number 3. Harold Lloyd. Some people chased applause. Others chased security. Harold chased something far more lasting, control over his future. On screen, he looked like a man flirting with disaster. Glasses slipping, hands gripping a clock high above the street, one wrong move away from falling. That image made him unforgettable. Audiences saw risk, chaos, and pure nerve. But none of that was accidental. Lloyd knew exactly what he was doing, both in front of the camera and far beyond it. Unlike many of his silent-era peers, he never treated acting as the finish line. It was just the doorway. While others cashed checks and moved on, Lloyd built a system around himself. He ran his own productions, controlled distribution, and kept a staggering share of the profits. Not a slice. Most of it. That kind of independence wasn't common. It was almost unheard of. Johnny once joked that while others were busy being stars, Lloyd was busy being smart. There is truth in that. Because when the industry shook, especially during the Great Depression, Lloyd didn't panic. He moved. He started buying land. Not flashy estates or Hollywood mansions, but farmland and overlooked properties across California. And the kind people were dismissed without a second thought. What they missed, and Lloyd didn't, was what came with it. Water rights. In a state where water would soon mean everything, that wasn't just a good investment. It was a long-term jackpot waiting to happen. As decades passed, those quiet decisions turned into something massive. While other legends faded, Lloyd's wealth kept growing, tucked away in places no one thought to look. There were no grand displays, just steady, disciplined expansion. By the time he was gone, the numbers told the story no one had fully seen coming. A fortune built not on luck, not on noise, but on patience. He made people laugh, no question. But the real trick? He made sure every laugh kept paying long after the audience had gone home. Number 2. Joan Crawford. Joan didn't come from comfort, and then that shaped everything about how she moved through life. Nothing about her rise felt accidental. She built her career through discipline, not luck. And when things started to shift in Hollywood, she didn't sit around waiting for it to turn back in her favor. She changed direction. Her marriage to Alfred Steele could have easily been just another chapter in a celebrity life, but it became something else entirely. When he passed away, most people assumed she would step back and live off what was already there. Instead, she stepped into the company. Not symbolically, actually working. Joining the board of Pepsi wasn't normal for someone in her position at that time, and she didn't treat it like a title. She traveled, promoted, and pushed the brand in ways that helped it grow beyond what it had been. And what stands out is how seriously she took it. She wasn't playing business. Well, she was in it. Even outside of that, she understood the value of her name before most people in Hollywood thought that way. She licensed it, expanded it, and treated it like something that could keep working even when the cameras weren't on her anymore. Johnny Carson once joked that while others were collecting awards, she was collecting returns. That line stuck because it fits. By the time she was gone, her story wasn't just about being remembered as a star. It was about someone who didn't let the industry decide when she was finished. All right, guys. Now, let's end this with Number 1. Mae West. Well, most of us run from controversy. Mae walked straight into it, and made a fortune on the way through. Long before Hollywood knew what to do with her, she was already writing her own rules. Sharp-tongued, fearless, and unfiltered, she built a reputation that made headlines before she ever stepped in front of a camera. And when those headlines turned negative, she didn't back down. She leaned in. Her early stage work pushed boundaries so hard that it got her arrested. Most careers would have ended there. Hers took off. Because May knew something others didn't. Attention, even the wrong kind, still had value. Maybe more. Johnny once joked that she didn't just break the rules, she sold tickets doing it. That wasn't an exaggeration. Every scandal gave her more visibility. Every attempt to silence her only made people more curious. And curiosity sells. When she arrived in Hollywood, she didn't come in quietly. She negotiated like someone who had already learned how the game worked. The creative control, ownership of her material, and power over her image. Things most actresses never even asked for, she demanded. And she got them. But the real move came when the cameras stopped rolling. While others spent wildly, May invested. Real estate, carefully chosen and strategically placed. Los Angeles, Hollywood, and eventually Las Vegas, areas that were still growing, still becoming something bigger. She saw the direction before the map was fully drawn. By the time the world caught up, she already owned pieces of it. There's a story Carson loved to repeat. Someone once asked her why she trusted property more than stocks. She didn't hesitate. You can't live inside a stock certificate. Simple, blunt, and exactly right. By the end of her life, Mae West wasn't just a symbol of boldness or controversy. She was proof that owning your image and knowing how to profit from it could outlast every critic in the room. Well, that's all for today. Hope you found this video interesting. Thanks for staying with us and be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.